This is the round ahead, thanks to Coles, Nat Edwards, Josh Gabelich and Chad Wingard with you as we approach the midway point of the season. Here come the buys, Josh.
Happy mid-season draft day, Nat, to all that celebrate. Forget about the buys. This is a big night tonight. I can't wait, Chad, to see if we can find the next John Newcombe.
Yeah, I mean, all clubs are hoping to find that. And obviously, mid-season, no hangover from Brisbane, which is, I suppose, a surprise packet this year.
We will unpack all of that on the round ahead. But let's get into the fixture and what round 12 has to offer us. And, well, despite Carlton Northport and the Dogs on a bye, there's still plenty of action going around. We'll get to Thursday and Friday night in a moment. Saturday, the Suns host the Dockers. Crow skipper Jordan Dawson faces off against his former side, Sydney. Looking at our Sunday fixture, the Red Hot D's are off to Alice Springs to host the Saints, while the Cats head west to take the Eagles on Sunday night. And that game you can actually watch nationally on both Channel 7 and Fox Footy, which is good news for everyone. But let's get straight into it. It is, of course, Thursday night footy, thanks to Coles. Brisbane are back on the winners list. They host the Wounded Bombers at the Gabba, and Essendon cannot catch a trick when it comes to their talls. The latest casualties, Ben Mackay and Kyle Langford, and it does mean that they're a little bit short because 10 players are now missing over 190 centimetres. That is 19 metres worth of talent. Chad, I did the maths. How deflating is it, though, as a team when those injuries just keep piling up?
Yeah, and it makes a huge impact because, I mean, players might have to play out of position, you're changing roles every week, and then players are coming in and out. It's really hard to find that continuity and also just the consistency in performance.
Especially the talls, as we can see behind us. 19 metres, as I mentioned, and maybe, Josh, they're going to have to fill that gap at the mid-season draft tonight, which you can watch, of course, live and exclusive on afl.com.au and the AFL Live app from 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Cheeky plug.
Have a look at some of those players, Nat, that are missing so many crucial pieces to Brad Scott's game plan at the moment. It's remarkable to think that 4 of them are out for the whole year.
Yeah.
We get to the midway point of the year. They're going to be active tonight. I think they might use all 4 picks. They might need to, especially given some of the key players that are out for the year. We know the ruck situation. No Sam Draper, no Nick Bryan. Zach Reed's the heartbreak one when you consider what he's been through. Now, I know he's only going to miss a month, but he's had such a good start to this year and been through so much. So intrigued to see what they do. I think they're going to be very active tonight.
They might have to find someone in Queensland who can have an immediate impact potentially at the Gabba come Thursday night. Imagine if they had a debutant within 24 hours of being drafted. Now, I do know that a lot of Bombers fans are down in the dumps about their injury woes, but if there is one thing that you can look forward to come Thursday night footy thanks to Coles, then maybe it's been able to see Angus Clark again, Josh, because it was such an impressive debut from him, and he might get a little bit more attention, though, this week.
Well, Dad, it was one of the best debuts of the season to date. He got the round 11 Rising Star nominee after kicking 3 goals, 522 metres gained off a wing. Now, I think he'll settle down as a defender the longer his career goes on, but I sat down with him last year at the Combine and his story stuck with me. I think he's got one of the best stories out of last year's national draft when you consider he started 2024 not in South Australia's squad. He wasn't on the radar of any clubs, and then by early in the year he was in that squad. It meant that he had to make 9-hour round trips to Adelaide for training, for games. He had to do flights from Mount Gambier, and the way to pay for this, he started selling firewood, cutting and selling firewood, $400 he would make each week. That's 4 ute loads. It was a great idea. It took the financial strain off his parents, and I think they had one of the best times of anyone inside the MCG. And there were 76,000 people there last week. I don't reckon anyone was more happy than Angus Clark's parents at Dreamtime.
Oh, and they were mic'd up. And if you haven't seen that vision, go find it on the socials because it is absolutely golden. On the Brisbane side of the equation, though, Chad, after a couple of disappointing weeks, they're back on the winners list. They beat the Hawks at the MCG at the weekend. And when it came to their forward line, they really shared the load. They spread the love. And one lion that Essendon's going to have to worry about is Calamachi, and probably a little bit underrated, really.
Yeah, and I think last week playing Hawthorn, I think Hawthorn actually played a couple of players into form. You think about Calamachi, had 20 touches, 4 goals, and was massive impact. I think his aerial ability is really, I suppose, thought of. He just has such an impact. He's one of those medium-sized players that can kind of play a similar role. But another one I want to talk about in terms of playing into, I suppose, some form is Charlie Cameron.
Yeah.
He kicked 3 goals in about 4 minutes on the clock, and both those players were having okay years. And like you said, Brisbane have had some forwards that are just sharing the load, but those 2 players in particular, I think, just played themselves in some great form coming into this week.
No, they certainly did. And so at the midway point of the season, when you look at the Lions, they're 8 wins, 2 losses, and just that draw that came against North Melbourne. And Josh, this is such a stark contrast, isn't it, to where they were this time last year. And we know that they came home like a steam train to win the flag in the second half of the year. They're much better placed this time around.
Well, if you think back to round 11 last year, they just got done by Hawthorn at Marvel Stadium.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Chris Fagan was referencing GWS and Carlton from 2023 and the way they recovered from a really poor start. They only had the 4 wins on the board at this point in time last year, Brisbane, and it felt like it was a bit of a throwaway line. We all know what happened since then. And you look at their form this year, they're getting a lot more out of their youth. I mean, Will Ashcroft is really becoming that star that we expected after missing so much footy with the ACL. His brother's a rising star contender. Jasper Fletcher is evolving before our very eyes. So their youth is stacked right now.
So do you have them, and a question for both of you, as your premiership favourite at the moment, despite sitting second and Collingwood obviously on top?
I don't. I have Collingwood at this point in time because you only got to go back to Easter Thursday when Collingwood went to the Gabba and beat them by 52 points now.
Exactly that. What about you? Who's your premiership favourite at this point?
Yeah, I mean, I can't go past Collingwood, but I actually think Brisbane, watching him live, just their ability to take the pressure off of themselves with their kicking. I think their kicking ability is going to be better than Collingwood, I believe, in terms of when it comes down to the pointy end of the season.
Well, speaking of the top of the table pies, we are all licking our lips at the prospect of Friday night footy. It is Collingwood and Hawthorn at the MCG, the only game in Victoria for the round, if you don't mind. And Pies coach Craig McRae, Josh, well, he's got a bit of a selection squeeze on his hand because there are a host of stars who are available to come back into this side for this clash.
Well, Nat, I think we're going to see 5 changes from Craig McRae, and Collingwood have made so many changes across the past month. We saw Scott Pendlebury very late out due to gastro on Saturday against North Melbourne. Bobby Hill also came out just before that first bounce due to a personal reason. Both of them will come back into the 23. Darcy Moore's good to go. He's missed the last 2 games with an AC joint issue out of the game in Fremantle, where Lockie Schultz went down with concussion. He's missed the past 2 games as well. And then there's Steele Sidebottom, who was managed last week. So that's 5 automatic inclusions into their team. No Braden Maynard. He comes out, of course, with that ruptured plantar fascia. But there are going to be some unlucky players that come out of that 23.
Yeah, there will be. Do you have any concerns, Chad, about making so many changes? Does it, could it upset the apple cart, I guess, so to say?
I don't think it's going to upset them one iota. You see what that Collingwood were able to do when they went to Freo, get the job done. They dropped 4 of the senior players and they still got the job done over there in Optus Stadium. So to them do it here in MCG, I don't think they have anything to worry about. But I think it speaks to their culture of a club at the moment. The fact that they whoever plays can come in and just dominate. Think about Ned Long, some of the guys that have come in and just absolutely played their role for the team.
Well, speaking of dominating, Nick Daicos, Pies star, certainly did that against North Melbourne last Saturday night, and should I say, not for the first time either. The word untaggable does come up often when we talk about Nick Daicos, but there is one man who has managed to curtail him before, and that is Hawk Finn Maginness. So this was back in 2023 where he kept him to just 5 disposals and a clearance and just over a half. We do know that Nick Daicos did get injured in that game. Chad, he's had success in the past against him before, has Finn. He was a late in against the Lions. Should Sam Mitchell give him the tagging job and the role again this weekend?
Well, Finn started as a sub last week, came in at half-time and he decided not to, I suppose, tag Lockie Neal, who was probably the most dominant mid. But if I'm thinking of Sam Mitchell and I suppose their approach that they had, that 9 players didn't have a tackle. So for me, to tag Daicos is a mental shift in their team. So, yep, this is our head on a platter. We spoke about Bontempelli needed to do that to him when he come up against superstars in the competition. So I think we expect Finn to go to him to really set the standard that this is what we are. We're tough and attacking side, and we're going to go after him.
Sam Mitchell hasn't really used him in that role, though, this year. Do you see a tweak there?
I think they have to, because they're not lifting in there, I suppose. We talk about Hawthorn's mantra, their DNA, it's just tough and attacking. That's what Sammy Mitchell speaks about all the time. And at the moment, their toughness is really lacking. So you think about some of the stats that are really jarring, is that they had 9 players last week that didn't lay a tackle. You think about some of the big key, I suppose, their stoppages. They're 16th in clearance differential. They're 14th in tackle differential per game. And they're 17th in first possessions from stoppage, which means they're just not hard enough, tough enough for long enough. And you think about a team that's built on that. They need to get back to it. But I suppose the positive for Hawthorn is that, in terms of the stoppages, that they're second from scoring from centre bounces, and they're only 8th in clearances total. So when they do get the ball going their way, they're really potent, but they need to go back to their tough aspect. I'm getting passionate now because I'm a little bit biased. They need to bring their toughness back if they want to win.
Forward 50 tackles too, because their pressure was probably down
Exactly
against Brisbane. So you talk about that tough and attacking football. We want to see the Hawks get back to that on Friday night. Now, one player the Hawks, well, they could do dearly with at the moment in their midfield is Ned Long. He was delisted by Hawthorn in 2023, and then last year in the mid-season rookie draft, he was picked up and plucked out of it by Collingwood. And Josh, he is a player who is certainly grasped both opportunities, and he is having a huge impact at the moment.
Oh, he absolutely is. Now, this time last year, Ned Long was still working in sports tech in the CBD. He was playing VFL on the weekend. Of course, all that changed 12 months ago to the day when Collingwood used the second last pick in the mid-season rookie draft to give him a second chance. And hasn't he grasped it? Look at what he's done this year. His first month of the year was the sub predominantly, but since round 5, he's the #1 rated player at Collingwood. And Chad, Champion Data are rating him as the most improved player in 2025.
Yeah, and what I love about him is that he's playing his natural game, and that's what Craig McKay has asked of him. I spoke to him after the game at Gather Round against Sydney, where he got activated and dominated. And he said, you know what, I've just gone back to what makes me a good player. Clearances, tackle and pressure. And he's the 5th player in the competition at tackles per game. So just shows that sticking to your strengths, playing your role, can really pay dividends.
It's got us thinking, who are the other players in the AFL in 2025 that have spiked, that have really improved? And there are some really interesting names that I want to unpack with you. Bailey Humphrey is one. He was taken a pick 6 in 2022. Damien Hardwick's really got him going. He used the Dustin Martin comparison early, but is there another player that Bailey Humphrey reminds you of?
Well, someone similar to Dustin Martin, but I really think Bailey Humphrey is a similar kind of player to a more athletic Daicos. I know that's a big call, but you talk about the impact he has per disposals. That's the kind of player that he reminds me of. That he's not going to get 20 plus 30 disposal games, but he's going to impact the game regardless of what he gets.
Toby Green. I see a little bit of Toby Green in him as well. Some amazing comparisons when it comes to Bailey Humphrey. Paul Curtis is an absolute favourite of yours. We've discussed him a lot on this show. I think he had an All-Australian blazer after round 7. He missed those 3 games due to suspension. He came back on the weekend. Blazer or no blazer, given where he's playing and the role he plays, is he the most improved forward this year?
Well, I think he's the most improved forward because he's in a team that hasn't improved one iota in North Melbourne. They're not, I suppose, playing really well, and he's a half forward, and I'm going to be biased again, but it's the hardest role to play in a team that's struggling, right? So for him to increase his goals by almost double, increase his inside 50s by double, just shows the impact that he's having. He's the 2nd highest rated player in North Melbourne, behind potentially All-Australian ruckman Xuri. So it just shows the impact he has for that club.
Now, Bailey Smith is going to take some absolute beating this year when it comes to the recruit of the year. But Matt Kennedy isn't far behind him. Of course, on deadline day, he was involved in that 4-club, 3-player trade. What did it cost the Western Bulldogs to acquire him? Because right now, he's kicking goals. He's up to 14 for the year. He's averaging 25 disposals. But just remind us about that deadline day deal.
Pick 38, so that's a pretty good steal.
Good business.
Yes, we talk about players that are getting steal of the draft, but what about steal of the trade table? I mean, it's almost like an underhand deal. That's how important he's been for Western Bulldogs. He's dominating, and he's not taking away from some of the players that are in Western Bulldogs who dominate around the centre. So to kick goals, he's been amazing for him.
Need to point out Lockie Ash as well. He's in that hunt for an All-Australian blazer. He's up against Bailey, Dale, Nazai Wanganeen-Miller and Jack Sinclair. He's got 2, of course. Ed Richards was in that conversation at the start of last year, but he's changed roles, and he now looks like one of the best midfielders in the game.
And talk about Western Bulldogs, a lot of players have been shifted around and they're dominating at the moment. But what impresses me about Ed Richards is his, I suppose, confidence with ball in hand. His kicking is unbelievable in terms like where he hits every target inside forward 50. So his confidence with ball in hand is what's really impressed me.
Josh, Ed Richards, I know he is one of your absolute favourites. Now, as you both make your way back over to the desk, this caught my eye at the Hawthorn-Brisbane game last week, and we know all the cryptic signs that are used on the bench, but Chad, this one takes the cake. I was bewildered by this. Like, I was trying to figure out, what does it mean? Is it like kind of go back to nature, go back to your basics, or I kind of thought it should mean bring your mouth guards
Decode
training on Monday.
Oh, I wish I could decode it. That's a new one. I haven't seen that one, but it looks like it's maybe go back to your natural form of playing. But we need to bring someone on. We need to find out because they've got some of the best, I suppose, calls on the game at the moment. It's
Right,
pretty funny.
homework. You tune in.
He's withholding information.
I know. He
can't say it.
probably
Can't
knows
say
and
it.
he doesn't want to give away Hawthorn's secrets. I also want to know
win.
what the noodle sign that Hawthorn hold up. So there's some crazy ones out there. One day we'll get to it. All right, let's move on to Saturday now. People First Stadium is the Gold Coast Suns hosting Fremantle. It's a venue that the Dockers do not perform very well at in the last 10 years or so, albeit they don't play there that often. Now, when it comes to Gold Coast though, Chad, you absolutely love to keep receipts and you had no qualms bringing this to our attention in our pre-production meeting.
I think they're going to win 8 of their 12. If they get off that start, they only have to win, I reckon, about 5 to 5.5 games, right, after their bye. I think adding Daniel Rioli, that another score source from their back half, so they're not just relying purely on stoppages. I think that's going to be massive. For them. Was that filmed last week? Because that sounds like someone had a crystal ball.
Very good. That was episode 1. We're going all the way back, so well done to you. They did have a very soft draw, though. Come on.
You look a bit different there as well.
Yeah, I think this show's aging me. I feel like I've aged 10 years
Hanging
and 10
out
days.
with us. But are they making finals? Like, surely they're making finals from here. They've got a game in hand. They're 8-3.
Yeah, I think they are. And I watched both games up in Darwin when I was there, and I think that I suppose where they've improved the most is their maturity when the game gets close late in games. They had Bulldogs were coming hard at them, and you think about when Bontempelli kicked that goal in the goal square, I thought they were done. They're going to get run over. They held on strong. Same with Hawthorn. They made a run back at them, but maturity is they get it done. They stick to what they know.
So last night, I'm sitting on the couch, Josh, having a bit of a scroll after I put my 5-year-old to bed, and Gold Coast Suns video comes up. Leo Lombard making his debut. Before we get to the video, because I was a hot mess on the couch, bawling my eyes out for about 15 minutes thanks to this video, just tell us a little bit about the boy who's pretty much the academy poster boy for the Gold Coast Suns.
I'm glad you and I are on the same page because I absolutely love that video and I love clubs putting these out there. Give us a bit of inner sanctum access. But when it comes to Leo Lombard, now, this guy has been ready to play AFL for years. He played in a VFL premiership at the age of 16 for the Gold Coast Suns back in 2013. Last year, won the Lark Medal, went at pick 9 in the draft. And in a week where the St Kilda Gold Coast tensions are high, we can't forget that it was the Saints that made the bid on Leo Lombard last November. So he would have played sooner than this. He had a shoulder injury in February. He would have played in opening round 1, had shoulder surgeries, had 2 games in the VFL. Now he's good to go, plug and play. And what a moment yesterday to find out you're going to make your AFL debut.
Yeah, and his mum presented him with the jumper. Let's just take a little look.
No, mate.
Oh, no way.
Way. Congratulations, Don. You've done well. You start me off. You deserve it. You deserve it. It's good. It's good.
We are so honoured that you're going to play your first game for the Gold Coast Suns, mate. We couldn't be happier. You've earned it. We love you. God, you're making me cry now.
Thanks, Mum.
It's all good.
Is this why you asked for a day off?
Everyone's crying. If you go back and watch from the start, there's this whole byplay with Dimmer as well and his mum, and just talking about how much she's invested in her son, and that's what really got me. Any tears from you? You're a hug.
I was getting close. I'm going to have to hold him back.
Praised by a single mum as well, who worked a lot of jobs to
Yeah.
get him through, and he's going to make his AFL debut.
Just from a Freo point of view, touching on it quickly, but a sense of relief for them at the tribunal last night with their skipper, Alex Pearce, if I can remember his name, overturned his 3-match ban, overturned for this hit on Darcy Byrne-Jones. I think we all agree that in the end, common sense came to play at the tribunal. So he is free to face the Suns, and he's certainly not someone you want to be missing from Fremantle for the next 3 to 4 weeks anyway at this point of the season. Sydney and Adelaide, let's move on to this because they go head-to-head at the SCG on Saturday night. The Swans, well, they just look like they're going to miss finals now, whereas the Crows are in the top 4 and they look set and on track to make finals for the first time under their coach, Matthew Nicks. But what's got me hooked on this game is Jordan Dawson, the Crows skipper. What a season he is having so far. He currently leads the AFL Coaches Association votes with 54, 3 ahead of Catstar Bailey Smith. And Chad, what is it about his game right now that the coaches would be loving?
or the fact that wherever they put him, he dominates. I think that's what you have. You have a player that you can probably tag him in midfield, he goes forward, he kicks goals. A player that you can just move around like that and impact the game, that's why the coaches are loving him. And you think about one thing that hasn't spoken about much is his tackles. He's 6th in a comp for tackles per game. You wouldn't think of a player who's so classy and so skillful to be that high. So massive impact wherever he goes.
Josh, he comes up against his former side in the Sydney Swans, and we talked about the evolution of Jordan Dawson as a player probably about 6 weeks ago on this show. He is a very different player from then to now, isn't he?
He certainly is, and it's a good time to reflect on the trade. One of the great recent trades in history across the entire competition. Adelaide gave up a future first-round pick at the end of 2021. He came second in the best and fairest in 2022, and in that off-season he became the captain after just 12 months at that club.
Crazy.
And since then he's won 2 Malcolm Blight medals. He was an All-Australian in 2023. He's well on track for a Blazer, and I think right now he's well on track to become Adelaide's second ever Brownlow medalist.
Wow. Could he also be All-Australian captain? Because last year we saw Marcus Bontempelli get the honour. That was 2024. This is when the Bont was presented with the captaincy of the All-Australian team. Chad, do you think that Jordan Dawson's name should definitely be in contention?
Yeah, I think he'd be leading that race right now. You think about someone who's impacting the game, like I said, on many levels, but also the team's being successful, how much they've improved from last year. And that's, I suppose, speaks volumes to the leader that he is.
So Jordan Dawson, the Swans are certainly going to be wary of what he might be able to produce at the SCG. Just on the Swans, we've got to go back. I know that John Longmire stepped down as coach after another horror grand final loss last year. Dean Cox took over. He took over the reins, Josh. He said that what happened in last September, they've addressed it, they've moved on from it. But I can't help but keep coming back to those grand final scars and if it's actually still haunting them in some way.
Well, Nat, the curse of the grand final thrashing is real. History has taught us this, and we've been wary about this since September. But you look back to 1995, losing grand finals by 40-plus points leaves serious scars. The last 13 teams to lose by that much have failed to win a final the following year. Only 6 of those 13 teams have made finals the following year, including Sydney back in 2015, when they went out in straight sets. They lost by 63 points, of course, in 2014, 80 in 2022, and 60 last year. So this really shouldn't be a major surprise, although it does feel like a surprise. And Chad, at 4 and 7, it feels like Sydney's season is over.
Yeah, and I said that last week. I think Melbourne, that game against them, I thought it was do or die, and I don't believe they're going to be able to get back now.
You really do keep your receipts, don't you?
I'm pulling them all out. Tax return
Genius. Well, the last 2 weeks, our game has been on show in the top end. Of course, 2 games in Darwin. This week, we're heading to Alice Springs. It's Melbourne and St Kilda. Now, Chad, you've played in Alice. In fact, I believe the fans voted you the MVP the last time you played in Alice Springs, which was round 10, 2016. We just found a little bit of tape of you there. Oh, you
so
looked
grumpy.
You looked filthy that you'd kicked that goal. What's going on?
I don't know. I think I missed a shot before that, so I was a bit flat at myself, which is pretty stock standard. Yes, I remember playing this game. It's really hard to play up in Alice Springs, and I've got a story from actually this game in particular against Melbourne.
What is that?
Yeah, look, just nothing. I was frustrated. I'm such a grumpy guy.
Yeah, come on, lighten up.
Glad I retired at the right time. Anyway, Jakey Need, who's one of my favourite all-time players, teammates at Port Adelaide, he's got a lot. He grew up in Elliot. It's in between Darwin and Alice Springs, and came to ticket request time in Alice against Melbourne. He's like, oh, who wants tickets? Not many people were bringing their family up. Jakey Need's, oh, how many can I have? And he's like, oh, how many do you need? He's like, oh, 100? He got the whole allocation for the game, so I'll never forget that story. I've got plenty of Jake Need stories. We could have a whole segment on him.
Okay, we'll save that for next week, maybe. Now, the D's, of course, their resurgence continues. They've won 5 of their last 6 games now, and that's down to several reasons. But one of the men that are leading the charge in that way is Cozzy Pickett, Chad, and you absolutely love him.
Yeah, I love him because he just looks confident again, and he's having an impact. I mean, we've seen him have games like this, but not for a whole season. I think we're like, oh, we get a taste of it. Oh, he's going to be an absolute star. He's going to get the All-Australian Blazer. And then this year, he's actually been consistent. He's playing further up the ground. He's getting more disposals, and he's just absolutely killing it at the moment. I suppose he wore his dad's Guernsey on the weekend and Serdo Nichols round, and his dad before the game said, I hope he goes out there and gets best on. And what does he do? Gets best on, kicks 5 goals, and absolute dominant display. Nah,
it was a beautiful moment, wasn't it? Now, Jack Viney, we talk about him when it comes to the Melbourne team, but Josh, his brother Max is having an impact of his own in the AFL.
He certainly is, Nat. Last week, I went and spent some time at an MMA gym in Abbotsford to
Wait,
interview...
did you get involved?
I didn't get involved.
Come on, you want to mess up his hair.
But I love this story because Max Miney is 27. He grew up with this famous football surname. We know Todd and his history at the Melbourne Football Club, now the GM at North Melbourne. And Jack's become an absolute great of Melbourne when you consider he's now a two-time best and fairest winner. But Max, his passion has been in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's got a black belt in that, and in the last 12 months, he's dedicated a lot of his time to working with AFL players. Now, Tom Mitchell was one of the first that got involved, Scott Pendlebury, Christian Petrarca, Clayton Oliver. Now, 8 AFL clubs have hired him as a tackling and grappling coach, and tackling's never been riskier, never been more important when you consider Paul Curtis in that situation this year and all the suspensions and the threat of concussion. So it's just interesting that there's another Viney in the AFL making a mark on the game right now.
You can check out that article, of course, on afl.com.au and the AFL Live app as we wrap up the round ahead. Just a quick whip around of the final few games of round 12. So GWS Richmond, and then, of course, there's West Coast and Geelong, that game on Sunday night, as I mentioned before. But it's 2 games you might not necessarily be circling in the calendar, but the big question on these games for me is who is going to kick a bigger bag of goals? Is it going to be Jesse Hogan or Jeremy Cameron?
Yeah, we think about the common races. These are the games that you need to kick a big bag. And for me, it's going to be Jeremy Cameron. I feel like West Coast defence isn't as strong as Richmond's.
I'm with you on this. I'm with you. Richmond haven't been leaking big scores across the last 6 rounds. So I think Jeremy Cameron, primetime Jezza, Sunday night footy in the West is going to go bang, Nat.
Oh, I cannot wait for that. And that is the round ahead, thanks to...
No, it's actually not.
Yes, I'm in control of this
No,
show.
you're not in control because you are about to go on maternity leave for
Yes,
a
I am.
long
Oh, yeah,
period.
I've been hiding something behind the desk.
So this is our last episode with you for a while. Thank you, Kath.
Oh, my God. Thanks, Kat.
You've done a phenomenal job. 38 weeks pregnant. I can't believe you're still at the desk, soldiering through.
Oh, my goodness. Thank you, guys. This is amazing. Look at this. It's a baby hawk cake. I could actually probably smash this whole thing.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Why not? Do you want some?
Chad will have it.
I'll eat it.
Oh, thank you, guys. That is very lovely. You'll be left in good hands. The delightful Sarah Ollie is going to be stepping into the host chair and with a few cameos, I guess, from other people. A big thanks to our producer as well, Anna Stone, all the production crew here on the floor and in the control room. Thank you so much. I'll be back in finals for the business end of the season. I'll come back. You two, keep this seat warm. Look after the show for me, and we'll see you again next week. I'll be watching. See ya.